Good morning. Welcome to Directional Bible Ministries, a ministry that is called to encourage, disciple, and challenge the people of God. Today is August the 27th, and we are working our way still through the book of Acts. We are in chapter number 17 today. So, chapter number 17, let's just pick up in verse number 1. We got down through verse number 7, I do believe. But let's just read for context and see where we are here. Now, when they had passed through Amphipolis to Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where was a synagogue of the Jews. And Paul, as his manner was, went in and reasoned with them out of the Scriptures, opening and alleging that Christ must needs have suffered and risen again from the dead, and that this Jesus, whom I preached unto you, is Christ. And some of them believed and consorted with Paul and Silas, and of the devout Greeks a great multitude, and of the chief women not a few. But the Jews that believed not, moved with envy, took unto them certain lewd fellows of the baser sort, and gathered a company, and set all the city in an uproar, and assaulted the house of Jacob, and sought to bring them out to the people. And when they found them not, they drew Jason and certain brethren unto the rulers of the city, crying, These that have turned the world upside down are come hither also, whom Jason hath received, and these all do contrary to the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, one Jesus. What we talked about last time is that they are accusing Jesus of insurrection. They're accusing Paul of insurrection here. Which is exactly what they accused Jesus of insurrection. And of course, Jesus, was preaching a kingdom of which he would be logically the king. So that was insurrection. So of course, Paul here is obviously talking about the coming kingdom, and who Jesus was, and that he would be the king. So they're accusing them of the exact same thing. And they troubled the people and the rulers of the city when they heard these things. And when they had taken security of Jason and the others, they let them go. These lewd fellows of the baser sort, as they are called, continue to stir up the people and the rulers of the city with this accusation that these people are inciting insurrection. Now notice verse number 10. And the brethren immediately sent away Paul and Silas by night into Berea, who coming thither went into the synagogue of the Jews. Now, once again, Paul is sent away by night. Berea is interesting. I started to study this a little bit. It's actually the modern day city of Berea. It's in Greece. And it does have a lot of historical significance. Historically, the last 460 Jews that occupied Berea were removed on May the 1st, 1943, by the Germans and sent to the concentration camps. Of those 460 Jews, 150 of them were children, and they were then taken from Berea to Thessaloniki by the Nazis and dropped off on May the 8th at Auschwitz, where every one of them were put to death. Pretty tragic there. The history of what happened in where Paul is now, Berea, the modern day city of Berea. And notice it says that he goes to the synagogue of the Jews again. And we've talked about this. Paul continued to try to reach his brethren, the Jews. He had a heart for them. He would have been damned for them, he said. He continued to try to go to them. So he goes straight to the synagogue. And of course, we've already established that in these Jewish synagogues, there were Gentile proselytes, there were curious Gentiles. In these, they were referred to as Greeks. And we're going to see here in verse number 12, there's some here as well. And then notice it says, these were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind and searched the scriptures daily whether these things be so. What's interesting, you remember in the when he was in Thessalonica, it says he reasoned out of the scriptures for 3 Sabbaths. But here it says they received the word with all readiness of mind and searched the scriptures whether these things be so. Therefore, many of them believed, also of honorable women, which were Greeks, not a few. So a compliment here is paid to these Jews in Berea, who were more noble than those in Thessalonica. They received the word with all readiness of mind, and they searched the scriptures daily to see whether these things be so. Of course, the scriptures that they were searching was the Old Testament scriptures, because Paul, remember, he's pointing out that Jesus was indeed the Christ. So they're searching the scriptures to see if these things that Paul is talking about be so. And as a result, many of them believed. I really do believe that if people would listen and search the scriptures, they would see what these Bereans saw, that Jesus was indeed the Messiah. They were good students. And if we would only be good students as well, you know, I posted the other day that every 4 years in America, we get a front row seat to see just how biblically illiterate we really are as a people. You see so many things that, I mean, where did they get this stuff? Just biblical illiteracy. I mean, we don't, I can understand how people outside of the church who are natural in that they don't know God, they have no desire to study the scriptures, but I don't understand how people within the church, people who claim to be, people who are believers, will not study their Bibles. I mean, and I know you've experienced that too. I mean, I was reading the other day, Bethel Church out in California or somewhere, where, you know, they literally brought out a staff and began to recite the Lord of the Rings in regards to demons and saying, "You shall not pass." I mean, where do they get this stuff? I mean, the Bible is right in front of them. Or even, you know, those of us who, you know, embrace the, you know, the mid-acts view or whatever view, it doesn't matter. I mean, when you talk to someone, I mean, why aren't we just good Bereans? Why don't we just search out the scriptures to see if these things be so? I was talking to a lady, you know, yesterday. You know, she said, I post things onto my Facebook page that have to do with the Bible and the study of the Bible. Zero response, even from her closest friends. I mean, they don't care. I mean, don't even take the time to like it, you know, but post some stupid meme, you know, about some dancing cat, you know. I mean, so obviously they do see it. It's just they don't have an appetite for it. They flat out don't care. And that can be heartbreaking, let me tell you. I'm sure you've experienced that as well. But we need to be like the Bereans. We need to receive the word with all readiness of mind, realizing that we haven't arrived. We don't have all the answers. And we need to be willing to search out the scriptures to see whether or not these things be so. I think all of us, I know Lord knows for me and myself, my theology has been corrected lately almost on a weekly basis, because I am willing to go to the scriptures. I am willing to admit that I was wrong. But that requires study. And most people are just too lazy. The devil has them too occupied and too busy to study. And it's just, it's tragic for sure. So notice it says, and as a result, many of them believed. I really do believe that if people would just listen, again, and search out the scriptures, they would see if these things be so. Romans 10:17 says, so faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of Christ. Not only do we hear it, but we go to the word. And when the word confirms what we've heard, our faith continues to grow. But notice also, once again, not only did the Jews respond, but also Greeks. And we've pointed out already several times that word there in 12, when it speaks of the Greeks, is referring to non-Jewish people who were in the synagogues where Paul was ministering. Now notice in verse number 13, but when the Jews of Thessalonica had knowledge that the word of God was preached in Berea, they came thither also and stirred up the people. I mean, it's exhausting to read how these guys just came after Paul. Now, these are unbelieving Jews. I mean, these guys had not accepted either gospel. And then immediately the brethren sent Paul away, as it were, to the sea. So we see these troublemakers. They're the same ones that stirred up the problems in Thessalonica. Now they've heard that Paul's down in Berea, and they obviously found Paul's preaching to be offensive, in that it by default condemned the nation of Israel for rejecting their Messiah. And they were just very aggressive about it. So obviously, like we read earlier, I mean, Paul was pointing out in Scripture, showing that Jesus was indeed the Messiah. Well, if Jesus was the Messiah, the nation of Israel killed him. And of course, Paul was trying to show them why he must needs to have suffered, why it had to happen. It was actually for Israel's benefit, but they stopped listening. And that's the way most of us are today. We listen for confirmation, not information. We listen until we hear something that we disagree with, and then we shut it down. Oh, yeah, you're one of them. I mean, that's the way we are. Everything we do today, our news media, our social media, I mean, we pick it based upon what we've already determined to be true many times. And consequently, we are in these echo chambers, and we only hear, even on social media, we only hear what we want to hear. And that can be dangerous. Wars have resulted over that. And I don't need to tell you where we are as a nation. When two sides can no longer talk to each other, you're in a very dangerous place. And that can happen spiritually too. We just shut down, we stop listening because it contradicts what we've always been taught or what we've always believed. So these guys are stirring up trouble, again, because Paul's message is offensive to them, and that he's accusing them of why the Christ had to die at their hands. So they come thither also, and they stirred up the people. And then immediately the brethren sent Paul away, as it were, by sea. I find that interesting. It says they sent Paul away to go, as it were, to the sea. This seems to indicate to me that they kind of did a pump fake. In other words, they were sending him, as it were, like he was getting ready to get on a boat, but he actually went to the next place by land. And I believe this may have been to shake the Jews that were coming after him off of his scent. That's the way I put it there. Because if you look, let's see, 13, 14, it says, as it were to the sea. Let's see, the NAS says, and then immediately the brethren sent Paul out to go as far as the sea. So it doesn't mean that he actually got on a boat to go to Athens, but that maybe it was just a ploy to lose those Jews that were coming after him. And then of course, notice he tells Paul, Silas, and Timotheus. He says, and they that conducted Paul brought him to Athens. And receiving a commandment unto Silas and Timotheus for to come to him with all speed, they departed. So Paul and Silas did not go with him. Instead, he told them, come as soon as you can. And of course, we do see over in chapter 18 and verse number 5 that, and when Silas and Timotheus were come from Macedonia. So they did join him later. So a little interesting there. So, Paul with trouble in Thessalonica. But I think when I heard the other day, I don't know who it was. I think it was at the national convention that's going on right now. I can't remember who the gentleman was, but he said, when the Lord starts blessing, the devil starts messing. That's true, man. As soon as the Lord starts to work, the devil starts getting busy. And that's what was happening. Paul was going to these places. He begins to, offer proof of who Jesus was. And this upset the devil. And he started raising up these unbelieving Jews to persecute Paul and to push him along there. So next time we're together, we're going to see that Paul is going to go down into Athens, and we'll talk about that. So, well, God bless you guys. Hope you have a great day. And remember, tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m., I'll be here. Asleep or awake, I will be here, and we'll be studying through this thing together. God bless you. Hope that you have a great day.